Sophie McLean, welcome, welcome, welcome. We'll just drop right into it. People already know you because they saw one video of you. Wisdom teacher. You've been my mentor and teacher and friend for almost a year now. I don't know exactly how long, but I wanted you on this show to bring a new perspective to the chaos and the fear and the pandemic that's happening right now in the world. So perhaps you can introduce yourself just for people who haven't seen you once before. And then I'm going to start asking you questions and we're just going to go into a flow about the state of affairs.
Great. Well, I'm Sophie. I'm French, as you can hear by my accent. I'm a wisdom teacher, and that means that for the last nearly 40 years, but let's say 30, it sounds better, I have had one commitment, is to educate people in awareness. Awareness is the ultimate power. Awareness, being present, people call it mindfulness. It is just being clear about what is so and what is happening. And awareness for me is a link between the material and the spiritual. I give courses, conferences, speaking engagement, online seminars. You can go to my website, and I just love empowering human beings. This is what my life is about. So I hope this conversation will be useful for everybody. And it's always fun to be with Josh.
So where are you right now?
I'm in New York.
And your building is empty and your street is empty, correct?
No, and I'm the only person in my building, which is quite different. They must have all secondary houses. So I think I might be one of the safest person in the city, because literally I see no one and the building is totally empty. Wow. And the street and the block. So
you've been more isolated now than ever before, would you say?
Oh, yes. I've never lived through an isolation period, ever. Quarantine period. I've never had that experience before.
How is it for you?
The thing that I find very that helps me a lot is that my attention is always on other people. It's very rarely on me. I find that if my attention is on myself, then the mind and being egocentric and self-centered is very disempowering. So for many, many years, my attention is always on others. So I've been actually, doing fine, because when you have the experience of making a difference, of loving and caring for other people, and of being able to contribute to other people, this is the most healing, delicious, harmonious way to be. So I can deal with confinements as long as I can do that. If I was totally shut off from other people, right, then I think I will do very badly. But for the moment, all is well.
What do you think this is going to do to people who haven't spent 20, 30 years meditating and studying and the practices that you've done? How do you think this is going to affect a normal person, quote unquote? What kind of reactions, what can we expect from humanity?
Well, of course, the first thing I want to say is that I do not know. What I can say is what I hope will happen. Right? So there is two options. Either people are going to learn that life is about elevating themselves and caring for each other, and that all borders and division and separatedness are human construct, that we're one species, and until we love each other and take care of each other, nothing will work, right? We are the only species in the entire universe that kill each other. There is interspecies killing, but not interspecies killing, except for humankind. Right? So my hope is that everybody will learn what matters. My fear...
For a second, there's no interspecies killing?
No. Yeah, there is between two different species. There is. but not inner species killing.
I thought like lions killed their young, don't they? Or baboons or something?
No, not what I hear.
Oh,
Not from what I hear.
but
I got it from Deepak Chopra,
oh, okay.
and I went to study there. So that I'm not an expert,
Yeah.
but mainly this is what is so.
And we kill for fun, and animals never really kill for fun. They would kill for food or for territory, but we kill.
For fun.
Well, fun's not the right word, but we kill for
domination, for control, for self-gain. We kill for God. I mean, we've killed more people in the name of God than anything else in the world. The only evil, people often talk about evil and dark forces, and for me, the evil is what human beings can do to each other. That is a real evil.
Yeah.
So I hope we will learn from that, right?
Yeah.
From that crisis, because being confined, people will go through the different stages of grief, right? First is denial, then there is anger, then there is depression, and then you get, there is 5 level, which I don't remember just off the top of my head. But then after all that, then you need to look at something else other than your personality, your little self, your ego, and then you have access to a very beautiful liberation. And that's what I hope this global crisis will bring.
Yeah. So what do you think is what's happening in the world? Let's just start there. What's going on? And with your lens, with your expertise, what the heck is happening? And,
so
what's the global opportunity that we have on our hands as a species? We understand there's a virus. Everybody understands the logistics of what's happening. But how do we flip this lens and give people an experience of hope, an experience of, hey, there's something that's happening here that is actually potentially positive?
All right, so there is different level of the crisis, right? There is a very different level. The first one is a medical level, basic. If you're sick, you don't even think, you just get yourself well. You think to get yourself well, you go to the experts, you do what works for you. But if you're sick, just take care of yourself. If you have somebody around you that is sick, then you take care of them. So, I mean, if you can. But that's the first level. It's a personal level, right? Then there is the community level. So you think of the people around you, right? So if you're not in charge, you need to follow the person in charge. And for this crisis, the people to listen to are the health experts. Right? So any health expert that you want to follow, as it's a crisis, a health crisis, follow a health expert and follow what makes sense for you and takes care socially of everybody else, right? So personal, social. And then I hear a lot of people that say, oh, we must go back. I hope it will go back soon to the world we know, and I hope it will end soon. But I say to those people that first, it's not going to happen very soon. It's going to last for, I was listening to Bill Gates yesterday, up to 10 weeks, which is a long time, but up to 10 weeks before, for example, the United States, that is a bit behind, will be able to go back to build life. But the question that is interesting to me is, what do you want to go back to? Because frankly, our world as it was, for me, was not working. It's really is in the most beautiful place. Earth is so glorious. Nature is so glorious. We have so many species. The ecosystem is so perfectly done. What human beings are doing with our world, for me, has not worked. I don't want money to be the most important priority of life. I do not want to have a lawyer to sign a contract. I want to have a word of honor, for example. I don't want to have politicians and egomaniac people running the world. I don't want to have refugees that we stop because we frightened to not have enough and leave people dying and little children starving of hunger. So do you really want to go back to what we had before? Can this pandemic be the opportunity to learn? Do you really want to go back to destroy the environment? Do you really want not to be responsible about our ecosystem? Do you want the most important thing in your life to be to go to work before your family, your friend, your well-being, your spiritual life? Do you want your education at school to be about what is possible for human beings by learning awareness, consciousness, and spirituality? Or do you want to go back to learn things that you will forget the minute you will leave school? Do you want education to be about being a loving, caring, honorable, generous human being? So this is what I see. People will choose to learn at whatever level they wish to learn. But my main concern is how much suffering do we need for people to be able to give themselves the permission to dream, to create a world that will work for everyone with no one left out. Are you right now thinking of what's happening in India? I come from Africa. I was born and brought up in Africa. My friend was in tears saying to me, Sophie, I'm more scared of going to the hospital than I am of the virus. Right? You know, think about the Italian, the Spanish, and what is going to happen in Africa. I was speaking to the UN representative of the UN in Western Africa. This woman has lived through the Ebola outbreak. And now, I mean, I talked to her to support her. You know, there is heroes out there. And she says to me, you know, Sophie, you send people to their home, but their home is 30 people in 2 rooms. And as they eat at night, only if they get paid for the work of that day, they cannot stop going to work, otherwise they do not eat, right? So when the thinking and the caring expand to everyone on the planet, then it will be possible to create a world that works for everyone.
How do we, wow, that really touched me. How do we as one creature, as one human being, how do we translate that care practically into actually changing things? To me, I feel fucking helpless. Sorry for cursing. Yeah. I feel helpless.
Yeah, I understand. So this is very important, right? This is what I said to you in the beginning of the call. Why I'm being able to stay grounded is because I make a difference with other people. So find a way you can make a difference. So I have a group of students I talk to twice a week. And yesterday night, we came up with an action that every single person can take. Educate yourself in awareness and educate others in awareness. So what does that mean? Imagine we have 2 minds. We have one that is totally unconscious and on automatic, that is literally reacting. I'm sure you know that there are sometimes you do things and say things, and once you've done or said that, you just have a thought and you say, why on earth did I just do that? Right? That's the one I'm talking about. Totally reactive, totally automatic, unconscious. And then there is another side of our mind that is the extraordinary mind of human being, the one that got us to the moon, the one that invented the computer, and you know, this kind of very conscious mind that is directly connected to the quantum field and the spiritual field. So awareness is just knowing when one is running the show versus the other one, right? So before we started recording this call, Josh, you and I had a conversation about the current situation. And you have your view and I have my view, and it was clashing. But all we did, out of the respect we have for each other, was to bring awareness to what we were saying. That's all we did. We brought awareness, but inside of a context of respect, care, and love. The fact that I'm your mentor does not make me more valid than you, doesn't make my speaking the truth, does not reduce the space you have to think, do, and create. There is no, how do you call?
Hierarchy.
Yeah. There is two human beings totally equal that through awareness can contribute to each other, even if their point of view is totally opposite. Mm-hmm. So that everybody can do that, right? So how you do that on a daily basis, Josh? Exactly how you and I did it. We ask each other questions. What do you mean? You said that, then you contradicted yourself. Can you please explain to me? I do not understand what you said, and I need, and so you base yourself on the Socratic method. Socrates never answered question. He only asked, he never answered question, right? He only asked the questions. It is the questions that makes a difference, not the answers. Mm. That is how you practice awareness, and then you train people around you to practice awareness, to question what they're thinking, to question what they're doing, to question what they're saying, so that they get themselves to a place of choice versus a place of reaction. And that will be the start to educate globally human beings from thinking unconsciously to thinking consciously. And we do not need to wait for a tragedy to do that. You do not need to wait for your mother and your father to die before you wake up to the fact that they are in danger. Right? So yeah. I get a bit excited.
No, please bring that. That makes me, anything less than that is boring. So how do we balance doing and being? Because there's action that needs to be taken. We need to teach, we need to preach, we need to share, we need to do things like this. And then how do we balance that with like, wait a minute, am I at peace right now? Am I okay right now? How do I feel right now? And just sitting and being in nature and being still. So my question to you is, how are you balancing this right now? The doing and the being, it's a common spiritual concept.
Yeah, it's a very good question. So one second.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
You need to go with the flow of the universe, right? The flow of creation. So most people are not aware of the order of, not the order, but the flow of creation, right? So people go for the results. Like, for example, when I'm in a relationship, then I'll be happy, and then I'll take that action, and then my life will turn out. That goes totally against the flow of the universe, right? So the flow of the universe starts with being. Be happy. So you need to do the work you need to do to create, if we talk about the example I get, the experience of happiness where you are, of contentment and fulfillment. There is nothing more attractive than a happy person. And a happy person takes very different action than an unhappy person waiting for happiness, right? So the actions you take do not come from your mind or from your, you never start with action. What I'm saying is that if you are happy, automatically without any force, you will take certain kind of action. And if you are unhappy, automatically you will take other kind of action. All you have to do to understand what I'm saying is look as when you're in love. You have the same job, the same salary, the same home, the same body, the same age, everything. But the moment you get in love, oh my, everything has transformed and you take different kind of action, right? Yeah. So it starts with being that then translate automatically into actions that are totally correlated with who you are being, and then the result will follow. So it's not from having to doing to being, it's the other way around. It's who you are being that gives you your action that has you have the result you have. So that's why awareness is so extraordinarily important. You want to be aware of who you are being. Are you being scared? Are you being anxious? Are you being selfish? Are you being unconscious? Are you being self-centered? Are you being loving? Are you being caring? Are you being a contribution? And then the action will follow, directly correlated with who you are being.
Do you believe who we are being is a full choice of free will? Or do you think it exists on a spectrum?
On the spectrum, I don't understand.
Like the way I look at who I'm being in a given day or given moment, I can only be as joyous and clear as all of the work that I've done in the past 7 years, right? If I can't just like choose to, but I know that's my lens. I know I'm pretty sure yours is different. I want to hear why yours is different. Can we be anything at any moment?
So the answer is yes, but it's a difficult, you ask very profound and deep question, Josh, right? Which is difficult to answer rapidly, okay? So the answer is yes, you can choose who you are being at any moment. Mm-hmm. Here's my evidence. When you're in a fight with somebody, you have the choice to be mean and say something that will really hurt the other person or not. Do you not?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I argue with someone, I always am aware enough to know that there are certain things, even if automatically I want to hurt the other person, yeah. There are certain things I will never allow myself to say because I know those are deeply wounding.
Okay.
Okay. So yes, we do have a choice about who we're being. Now, of course, the more aware you are, the more choice you have. Mm-hmm. Because there are some people with very good intentions hurt a lot of other people, right? This is, again, why awareness is so important. This is why my company is called Access to Awareness, because awareness gives you access to choice. But this is going back to your first question, what do I hope we will learn from this crisis? Is that we have the power of choice. This is free will. Everybody has free will. You just need to clean up a little bit to get to your free will so that you can be aware of your choices.
Yes. So this is different to your work, but I'm just going to say it anyway. It's like, I've always felt in my heart that if I could be experiencing mental pain, physical pain, I could be experiencing pain for whatever reason, but I could still be an uplifting presence in the room or in the space or in a meeting. So I want to encourage people that even if you're in pain, a lot of my listeners have chronic illness, right? If they're in pain, then it doesn't make them completely unable to access a positive state of being or a good state of being. Do you agree?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So the first thing for me is to be able to acknowledge what is happening, right? So when I'm scared, I need to be aware that I'm scared and not resist it and let the fear move through me. I have a lot of sorrow towards humankind at the moment, and I let the sorrow move through me. I have cried a lot and I dance it through, right? So you need to be aware of what is happening with you. Now, physical pain, you're talking about physical pain?
Mental or physical pain?
Yeah.
Depression,
so
anxiety.
Mental, there is no mental pain, it's mental suffering. Mm-hmm. Right? There is a difference between pain and suffering. Pain is physical, like everybody experiences pain, even animals. Animals do not experience suffering. Only human beings do. The earth doesn't suffer because of the earthquake. The dog with 3 legs doesn't go, oh, get me a therapist, my life is ruined, right? No. So suffering is typically human. Pain, everybody has to deal with. So physical pain can be very debilitating and takes a lot of your energy. Now, there is a way to deal with physical pain. And I want to say that I haven't had the experience of intense physical pain over a long time. I did have physical pain, but not over a very long period of time, which is, I think, what is debilitating. Apparently, there is a way to get so present to it that it disappears. Okay. I have not experienced it, but I've met a lot of people that have. So that is what, as the people that have constant physical pain, I would encourage them to go that way and find out what are those people talking about and what is the access to that. And it's always through consciousness, right? Now, suffering comes from the part of the mind I was talking about that is unconscious. Suffering, the source of all suffering is the stories we make up about what might happen in the future or what things mean. It is all based on interpretation and the reality show that goes on when we are the effect of the unconscious mind. Suffering is totally optional. One doesn't have to suffer. Mm-hmm. One can have pain, but one doesn't have to suffer like the suffering world, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. So, for example, I lost my husband, I lost a baby, I was raped. So I've had a lot of things happen to me. I do not suffer about it. Mm-hmm. I still have pain. My husband died 30 years ago. The sadness of not having him is still present. Not all the time, but from time to time. It's absolutely no problem. I have to totally learn to welcome the pain as love and and it goes through me very quickly because I don't resist it. Okay? So there is things, but the suffering I'm talking about is the one based on story and what did happen and what might happen. It's all based in the past and the future, nothing to do with the present. That is typically human and is totally optional. So for those people that are dealing with that, I would also recommend, like I always do, this is my remedy to everything, educate yourself.
How are you on time? I have 3 different things that just popped into my head.
I have another 10 minutes. And then we can do it again, Josh.
Do it again.
If people are interested, we can do it again.
Okay. So I'm only going to touch on 2 things then. Each one will be about 5 minutes. So there was I made some comments about the state of the world, and I was speaking on one of my last videos about how this is either a blessing or a blessing in disguise, what's happening in the world right now. I feel everything is either a blessing or a blessing in disguise. And a woman commented, she's like, you don't know what it's like to get raped. Getting raped is not a blessing in disguise. There was only negative that came from that in her mind. I'm curious as far as, do you view, if you don't want to talk about this, it's okay, but do you view you having gotten raped as a blessing in disguise, or are you grateful for that experience? Do you?
Okay, because you see, this is the mistake you make, Josh, if I may, okay?
Yeah.
Being raped is not a blessing. What you can learn from it is a blessing.
Of course, yeah.
But no, it's not of course. When you are dealing with somebody that has had to deal with this kind of violation, being death or rape or losing a child, whatever it is, right? You need to be very responsible for your choice of word. No, losing my husband was not a blessing. What I'm grateful for is how much I elevated myself out of it and what I learned from it. Being raped was definitely not a blessing. But what I learned and what I'm now able to give to people that were in that situation, that I am so grateful for. So it is only a question of being responsible for your speaking.
Yeah. That's the same thing we got caught on in the beginning of our call, in the beginning before this call started.
Exactly.
So the way I take ownership for that and get my power back is coronavirus is not a blessing. The awakening that can happen is the blessing.
Yes. And if the awakening does not happen, it would have been a waste of a pandemic.
So if,
okay. I remember 5 years after my husband's death was my moment of choice. I said, okay, you can either stay angry, victimized, and just a witch for the rest of your life, or you can learn from it. And that was a turning point. And I'm wondering when the turning point about the pandemic will be, if there will be one.
Wow. Okay. The last thing I want to touch on, do we feel clear on that subject? I want to make sure I'm clear so that I have the lesson for myself with my words and my verbiage, the way I use language. The tragedy, it is still it is a violation and a tragedy to have a bad experience, right? Or to help me out with this. Give me one.
Yeah.
Help me out with this.
It's a circumstance.
I swear to God, I feel like English is not my first language, but it is. I feel like I think in a different language.
Just come to me if you want some lessons in English, my dear.
Okay.
In fact, it's nothing. So again, I've got to be responsible for my choice of word, but the death of my husband is a death of my husband. A rape is a rape. The birth of a child is the birth of a child. What Gandhi did is what Gandhi did. Now we then make it mean something, right? So I make it mean Gandhi was extraordinary. Right? But if you were the British at the time where Gandhi was doing his non-violent marching, he was not extraordinary. He was a pain in the ass, right? So just to know that what happens is what happens. This is life. It's one thing after the other. You don't need to tie them together. It's just what happens, what happens, what happens, what happens, what happens, what happens. And there is some things that happens that reactivate every pain, every reaction, every survival, and every emotions that are so difficult to be with. There is emotions that are easy to be with: joy, happiness, love, sharing, generosity. Well, I'm mixing a bit emotion and state, but you understand. But there are some emotions and feelings that are terribly difficult to be with: grief and violation and rage, anger. Those are the low-level emotions that we all try to avoid. And of course, what you try to avoid will persist, right? So an enormous amount of compassion is needed for people that have this surge of the low-level emotions and feelings. Mm-hmm. And the key is to let them move. Remember, the material world is in constant movement. Your body is not a thing. Your body is happening moment by moment by moment by moment. You don't have the body now that you had 10 years ago. Your body is constantly evolving. Same with emotions and feelings. You've got to let them move, because that's the very principle of the material world. So if you try to resist this emotion, they get stuck. And something stuck means it doesn't move. And that's when you suffer. Okay? So we go back to what we were saying earlier. If you're frightened during this pandemic, please allow yourself to be frightened. Whatever you feel, you just bring awareness to it and let it move so that you can become present.
Mm-hmm. In 30 seconds, how do we get out of survival mode right now? In this next conversation, we're going to start with this subject. How do we get out of survival and move into a way of abundance and peace and love in this time of absolute chaos?
Oh, you're just too brilliant. I just love just this conversation with you. You're just my favorite. No, really, it's just like the best. You're just like feeding me. Yes, exactly what I want to talk about. Because this crisis calls for two things. It does call for survival. Do not move out of survival. Survival is designed to deal with an existential threat. There is an existential threat for 2% of the world population, right? So you get in survival, maybe not for you, but you do it for other people.
Okay.
So this is the ego. That's what originally the ego was designed for. Survival, we had to get food. Okay, so now we are dealing with a real physical danger. Mm-hmm. Survival skills. If it's not for you, it's for others. You take care of that. And at the same time, you cannot go on automatic survival. You need to be on conscious survival, consciously, right? Because you know that anxiety, which is very different from fear, fear gets you going. Clear mind, focused, fear is good, right? Anxiety is all the same than suffering. All in the future, Armageddon, the worst will come. You're not present, you can't function. So you bring consciousness. So conscious surviving. This is what is called for now.
Which is very different.
Go ahead. Personally, I'm talking globally. Yeah.
Which is different than our initial trainings together when you were like, is there a tiger chasing you? Is there this happening? Is there this happening? Okay, then there's no reason for fear. There's no reason for survival. Now there is. So now it shifts. Right. Something shifts. Right. Okay.
In fact, I say to people that say to me, I'm not frightened. I said, okay, you're unconscious and self-centered. Because all the sorrow I experience is not for me. I'm done. I mean, I'm complete with life, whatever happens. It's for others. I mean, who cares, right? Other than with the people that don't have the level of education and consciousness to be able to cope with conscious survival. Those people are in instinctive reptilian survival, but it cannot last. You know, those are the ones that need support.
Okay, I have 10 more things to bring up, but we'll do it next time.
Okay, let's do it again. I just love it so much.
Okay,
and I'd love comments from the people that watch it because that I can learn and grow and see what I can provide.
Okay, comments, guys. Her information will be in the info description. We're going to do this again. And yeah.
I love you, Josh.
I love you, Sophie. Thank you.
I said it first.